Final grade for this movie, what do I want to give it? I would say a B.
Look at that idiot. Look at that idiot giving you, a hot, steaming pile of garbage, a positive grade. Oh, how uneducated he was. He's in for a rude awakening in about 3 years. Well, lads. The time has come. I have been wanting to re-review this movie for so long, but I figured I would wait until I got there in my MCU reviews. And I am so happy that today is the day I get to talk about this piece of shit movie.
This war is just the beginning.
I'm not gonna fight your war. I'm gonna end it.
Okay, so before I even get into every reason that Captain Marvel's a bad movie, I do need to say something. This movie is not bad because it's trying to push any man-hating SJW propaganda. Does it have that in there? Yes. Does it make the film less enjoyable? Yes. But if you take all that out, this movie is still doo-doo. I don't even want to review this movie normally. It just would not do justice. I could sit here and I could talk about random things and how bad they are for the next little while. Or I can go in depth and just break this movie down and talk about why it's so terrible. So why would I do the first option when I could do the significantly more fun option? So that's what I'm going to do for you guys today. So find a comfy chair, grab a snack if you want, lay back in bed, whatever you want to do, and get ready for me to go through some therapy, because I got some things to say. Captain Marvel starts, and it's not bad, honestly. Gotta give credit where credit's due. The first 15-20 minutes of this movie are actually pretty rock solid. It's pretty engaging, that first little bit. So we get to see Veers, played by Brie Larson, training with Yon-Rogg, played by Jude Law, and then go on a mission with the Star Force, where there's actually a really cool twist that these people that they thought were innocent refugees are Skrulls, and then Veers gets captured. You know what? I'm just gonna refer to her as Carol, because that's actually her name, and I don't like Veers. Doesn't sound good. Even though there's a story reason, I don't like the name. So I'm just calling her Carol this entire time. So she gets captured. She has to escape this Skrull spaceship that results in her crash landing on Earth, going through a blockbuster, where if you didn't watch the trailers, it is then revealed right then and there. This takes place in the 90s. The movie has a lot of fun with that. It's pretty cool. It's intriguing. The action sequence isn't bad so far. None of the characters are really unlikable. It sets up the story. It sets up this mystery and intrigue. Pretty cool. It gets you excited to watch this dog shit film. But what you quickly learn with Captain Marvel is that for every one thing this movie does right, it does about 3 things wrong. Star Force is supposed to be Carol's friends. They're basically her family. She always goes on missions with these people. She's always training with them. In her mind, this is like the only family she's ever known, right? So you would think that the movie would actually tell you what their names are, and that I wouldn't have to go onto the Marvel Wiki to look up every member of Star Force. Here's who I know. Carol, Yon-Rogg. Yes, they're in it. Then we have Korath, and the only reason I know it's Korath is because he's played by Digimon Hansu, and Marvel made a point to tell us it was Korath before the movie came out. He doesn't act like Korath. He barely even looks like Korath. I don't even think they say his name. Then we have Gemma Chan playing her first of 2 completely unforgettable MCU characters, and she's playing Minerva, who's apparently a very big Captain Marvel villain. Not anymore, she's not. And then we have the last 2 members of Star Force that I actually had to go look up because I had no clue who they were. So their names were Atlas and Brawn Char. So there you go. Now you know their names. And how much personality does this team have? Absolutely none. There is not a single member of this team that has a single shred of personality, which is not good considering the title character is on the team. Captain Marvel has the personality of an IKEA bookshelf, but an IKEA bookshelf actually serves a purpose. For example, right now, my IKEA bookshelf is holding the Captain Marvel Steelbook to forever remind me that I did in fact buy the Captain Marvel Steelbook. She is such a weird, boring character. It seems, so she's like supposed to be this mix between sarcastic and stoic. I think the writers were trying to make her the perfect middle ground between Tony Stark and Steve Rogers, but she ended up being neither because she does not have the humor of Tony Stark and her stoicness is not the same as Captain America's. His is actually enjoyable. So they failed in both departments there. And Brie Larson is an Oscar-winning actress, which means she can act. So I don't know whose idea it was for her to act like cardboard throughout this entire movie, but it was a really bad one. And the Game of Thrones guys must have seen this movie and been inspired to lower the brightness on the Battle of Winterfell, because when I watch the opening battle of this movie, I can't see shit. But then Carol gets captured by Skrulls, who are the shit. Not shit. The shit. They single-handedly salvage any shred of a good movie within this not good movie. And they are led by Talos, played by Ben Mendelsohn, who is actually a very solid antagonist for this movie, and I'm glad he's coming back in Secret Invasion. The best thing this movie did was introduce a new, compelling character. And we'll talk about Talos a bit more later on, because he does have a cool little moment in the movie. Becomes a really awesome character in the back half. The movie does introduce its mystery plot line here in the beginning when she's on the Skrull ship and they're sifting through her memories, trying to piece things together and find Dr. Wendy Larson, also known as Mar-Vell. Spoiler alert. And I will say the idea of this storyline, I think, isn't bad. A lot of this movie works on paper and it was botched in execution. And then Carol gets 2 Pringle cans stuck to her fists, breaks out of them with sheer fucking will, and then falls to Earth. And that, my friends, is where the good stuff in this movie pretty much ends. We are out of good movie and we're 15 minutes in. This is a 2-hour movie, by the way. Carol Danvers meets Nick Fury. Nick Fury is a really cool character who I really like, and it's always cool to see him. But we do not need this much Nick Fury in this movie. I am of the opinion that Nick Fury is at his coolest when we barely know anything about him. When he's a mystery, he's the coolest guy. And I really wish the writers realized that instead of putting him in a lot of this movie and making him a very prominent character, then proceeding to ruin one of the best Marvel characters. But I digress. Let's try to go in order here. I'm gonna try to stay sane, people. I don't know if I can do it. So not long after Carol meets Nick Fury, there's a chase scene on a train because the Skrulls followed her to Earth, and so she's gotta go fight this Skrull on a train. And you know what I love? Not this fight scene. It's so bad. What's with the sound design? Why is it so gray? What's with like the horrible quick cutting in this fight? The only kind of cool moment in this scene is when she punches the Skrull in the face that's disguised as the old lady. If she punched an actual old lady, this movie would be a 10 out of 10 masterpiece though. And the action in this movie doesn't get any better, by the way. Watch the following fight and try not to have a seizure. Fast forward a bit because so much of this movie is not worth talking about, and we get to the scene where Carol, Nick, and Goose the Flurkin, take the Quadjet, the precursor to a Quinjet, to talk to Carol's old friend Maria Rambeau. And credit to this movie, the scene when Maria and Monica Rambeau see Carol and she doesn't recognize them, but they remember her, is really well done. Wish the whole movie was like that. One scene would have been really good. Anyway, a few jokes and a couple forgettable scenes later, we get a pretty cool plot twist. That being that the Skrulls are the good guys looking for a home, and that the Kree are basically just spreading propaganda. Now, this is a good plot twist just for the film itself, but I also feel like it's an even better plot twist if you know comics lore, because you're like, oh yeah, screw these guys, they're horrible, and then the movie's like, no they're not. That twist didn't sit right with me at first, but it's kind of grown on me and it's kind of clever. I enjoy it. But the only thing that sucks about the twist is that Talos was such a good villain. But now that it's revealed that he's not a villain and someone else is the villain, that means that we get a really fucking horrible villain. Jan Rog, played by Albus Dumbledore himself, who does a good job, by the way. Jude Law does good in everything he's in. He becomes the main villain of this movie, which is annoying because he's the second worst character of the film. Captain Marvel's the first. So then Carol, Maria, Goose, Talos, and Nick Fury all fly up into space to go to Marvel's little space station where they find the remaining Skrulls and the Tesseract. That little shit pops up everywhere. And if you thought that the third act of this movie was any better than the second act, well, I got some news for you, because it's even worse. The third act of this movie takes any redeeming qualities from the movie and throws them down a garbage disposal. The third act of this movie takes this movie from bad to awful. There's a scene where the Skrulls reunite, which I will admit, pretty cool scene. It doesn't last long because 5 seconds later, the movie throws itself off a cliff. They get the Tesseract, Jan Rog and Starforce show up, and then we need to have a cool fight. It's not a cool fight. We get a scene where Jan Rog plugs Carol into the Supreme Intelligence, and she basically has to overcome the Supreme Intelligence, rip off her little inhibitor chip, and then unleash her full power. And it would be a really cool scene if the music wasn't out of place, because the music really ruins it. And once she wins the fight, we get some really stupid shit. The Star Force were Carol's friends. They were basically her family. They were like the only family she ever knew. So you would think that she would struggle to fight them. You would think that beating the piss out of her friends would be a hard task and that she wouldn't want to do it, but nope, she just does it without any issues at all. No regrets, no doubts, no hesitation. It's like she never even knew them. They just become the most generic video game NPC villains in the third act just so Carol can fight them. So once she obliterates her family, we get a lot more fighting. Like, a lot more fighting. Oh, by the way, did you guys know that Ronan the Accuser's in this movie? Yeah, they hyped the hell out of that. They're like, yo, Ronan's coming back in this movie. You wanna know what Ronan does in this movie? He just stands there! So Carol learns to fly, which is cool, I guess. Actually, that's not true. She doesn't learn to fly. She just unlocks it. She unlocks it like it's the next ability on a skill tree. Remember when the original Iron Man movie devoted a very large chunk of its runtime to Tony figuring out how to fly? So when he finally flies, it's cool. Remember when Man of Steel had a whole scene where he has to fly and he keeps failing over and over, and then he finally figures out how to do it and he takes off and flies and it feels earned? Let me tell you how this movie does it. In this movie, Carol Danvers gets blasted. She's falling down to Earth, and then, last second, right when she should hit the ground, boom, she's flying. And then the next thing we see of her, she's stopping missiles, and then she's flying up into space, shooting these spaceships with expert marksmanship, as if she's known how to do this for years. She just learned 5 minutes ago. Not only did she just learn how to fly, she only just figured out her true powers because she just took the chip off her head. She has not been this powerful, but she's treating these powers like she's had them for, like, years. And this moment highlights my biggest narrative issue with this movie. There's no character development. There's no arc. There's no growing or changing of any kind. There is no development for the title character of this movie. Anytime there's an obstacle, anytime there's an issue, anytime there's a hurdle of any kind, instead of figuring out how to overcome it and making her a more sympathetic character, Captain Marvel just gets more powerful. He gets kidnapped by the Skrulls. What's she gonna do? Oh yeah, she just gets more powerful and is able to punch the gauntlets off. She gets captured by Star Force and has to fight both her friends and the Supreme Intelligence. No problem. She'll just instantly figure out how to summon the power of a white hole and shoot lasers everywhere and take them out like they're nothing. The Kree fleet's overwhelming Carol and the entire crew and they're about to win? Oh, easy. She'll just immediately unlock the ability to fly and destroy an entire fleet in seconds. Iron Man didn't defeat Obadiah Stane because he had a more powerful suit. Iron Man defeated Obadiah Stane with his mind and his selflessness, so he was able to devise a plan to stop him. Steve Rogers did not defeat the Winter Soldier with his punches. He defeated the Winter Soldier by talking to Bucky and unlocking his memories. Thor didn't defeat the Destroyer and Loki because he had a magical hammer. He defeated the Destroyer and Loki because the magical hammer deemed him worthy enough to wield it. Captain Marvel doesn't earn anything. She never reasons with anyone. She just always uses her powers to get out of any bind. This sets up something that no superhero movie should ever do. The reason that people love Superman and Captain America and Spider-Man so much is because audiences can see a part of themselves in the character. They don't love them because of their powers. I don't love Spider-Man because of his spider powers. Sure, it's a bonus, but I love Spider-Man for Peter Parker. I love him for the human story, how he overcomes stuff as the man, not the spider. Captain Marvel doesn't do that. We don't see how Carol Danvers solves a problem as a human being. All she does is just shoot lasers at people. That's what this movie is saying. All you need to be a superhero is powers. That's not how it should ever be. And this is made very clear that they screwed up this one simple thing with the ending of this movie, the final fight between Carol Danvers and Yon-Rogg. I was so excited when I saw this for the first time because there's a scenario set up by Yon-Rogg where he says she won't truly be who she is until she can beat him without her powers. Until she's not reliant on her powers, she won't really be that hero. This is a trial every hero has to go through, right? Spider-Man 2, Peter Parker doesn't have his powers. Iron Man 3, Tony loses all his stuff. In Thor, he doesn't have powers. In Winter Soldier, as I said, it's not the Cap that wins, it's the Steve Rogers that wins. So the movie sets up this scenario. I'm so happy. I'm like, we're finally going to see Carol Danvers not rely on her powers. So what does she do? Shoots him in the chest. No development, no growth, solely reliant on her powers. I don't know who this character is. I don't know any of her traits. All I know is that she can fly and she can punch really hard. And this movie's telling me that that's all she needs. That's not inspiring, and it is not good storytelling. Not just superhero storytelling, storytelling in general. Your hero should never be like this. Let's take a second to compare Captain Marvel to a female superhero movie that I really love. Wonder Woman. Wonder Woman is one of my favorite comic book movies. It is so good. And there's a reason for that. Wonder Woman is a female superhero in a world ruled by men, but it's not on the nose about it. The movie at no point tries to raise her up by saying, yeah, but I'm a woman, I can do this, female empowerment. They don't do that. They just write Wonder Woman like a character. If you replaced Wonder Woman with Wonder Man and it was about a dude, the movie would be just as good because it's just well written. It just so happens to be with a female character instead of a male character. They don't point out the fact that it's insane that she can do all this stuff. They don't try to paint her as a savior over all these men. They just write her well. They don't point out the fact that it's insane a woman can do all this stuff. They don't treat her as this savior above all. They just treat her as a good character. She can get overconfident. She gets in over her head. She needs to be saved every once in a while. She works in a team because working in a team is much better than working alone. The No Man's Land scene in Wonder Woman happens over an hour into the film, after we already know who this character is and what she stands for when she isn't using her powers. So when she is single-handedly deflecting machine gun fire with her shield, with hundreds upon hundreds of people in front of her, that's inspiring. That gives me chills. Wonder Woman, the movie, the character, is what actually inspires people, both in the movie and out of the movie. It inspires people to rise up, to do better, to be better. Captain Marvel doesn't do that. All Captain Marvel tells us is that laser beams win every fight. Wonder Woman doesn't exist to put women on a pedestal and bring men down. It just exists to make a good character that so happens to be a woman. Captain Marvel exists to paint women in a better light than men. Every man in Captain Marvel is either stupid or a vile piece of shit. And as a man, why would I want to watch that movie? The only trait that Carol Danvers has is that she has a vagina. And as if this movie didn't do enough things wrong.
Those bad guys still in there somewhere. Oh, motherfucking!
The ending is fine, and by fine I mean it's amazing that the movie's finally over. I like that the Skrulls are happy, but I hate how they just kind of shoehorn in the pager because they realize they forgot to explain the pager. So they're just like, here, I was working on this all those times I was off screen, even though this movie basically takes place perfectly in sequence and you're seeing almost every minute of our lives. But here you go, I was able to work on this pager that I definitely didn't have any time to work on. So yeah, they give Nick Fury the pager. There's your explanation for Infinity War and Endgame. And something I do like that a lot of people hate is how Nick Fury gets the name Avengers, because that was like Carol's pilot name. And so he names the Avengers Initiative after her because she's what inspired him to find a group of remarkable people. That's it. That's Captain Marvel. The single worst thing that Marvel Studios has made. But I do need to point something out. Although this movie's not well made and it's like actually really bad, I am aware that there is a very good chunk of the population that this movie inspired. Captain Marvel is a character that there are a lot of people who love. There's a certain demographic that looks up to Carol Danvers and looks up to Brie Larson, and nothing will ever take that away from them. I'm very happy that little girls everywhere feel inspired by this character. And as much as I hate the movie, I like that it has had a profound effect on certain people. But not me! I am gonna give Captain Marvel a D! The only reason it gets a D instead of a D- or even an F is because it has a couple tolerable moments and the Skrulls are really cool characters. But that's it. This movie screws up everything else it attempts to do. Therapy, I didn't even have to pay for it. Thank God. There you go, guys. There was my, well, it was more of a rant than a review of Captain Marvel. So, what did you guys think of that? As well as the movie Captain Marvel. Let me know all that down in the comments below. Also leave a like on this video, subscribe, click on the bell icon to receive all notifications from the MCU HQ. That's gonna be it. Have a great day, guys. That really didn't sound good. Okay, I don't think I broke it, but that landed really hard when I threw that. That went a lot farther than I expected it to.